Good morning, everyone. We are pleased to welcome you here this morning. I'm Pat Fonkushida, and I'm President and CEO of the Sacramento Asian Pacific Chamber of Commerce.
I'm Aziza Davis-Goins, and I am President and CEO of the Sacramento Black Chamber of Commerce.
I'm Kathy Rodriguez-Aguirre, and I'm President and CEO of the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and together we represent the Alliance for the Business Community.
So thank you all for being here today. I think we can all agree that Sacramento is booming again. You can feel the excitement and growth from the revitalization of our downtown core. There are many opportunities in our city today. We are piloting innovative technologies, programs, and ideas. The potential to live the American dream, the California dream, is alive and well here.
But, it's also no secret that this new prosperity is not evenly spread among the rich and the poor or within minority communities throughout our city. Our neighborhood businesses and families experience a continued lack of investment and opportunity as we grapple with rising housing, education, and other costs.
As women and as leaders of chambers of commerce, we wonder how to help minority neighborhoods prosper as well. We know that 80% of new jobs are created by existing businesses, and that 80% of existing jobs are at small businesses, often the core and anchor of our neighborhoods. That's why we believe there needs to be a real effort and investment to revitalize our minority neighborhoods, as well as build strong, lasting partnerships between our public and private sectors to continue pushing innovation beyond business as usual.
We agree and we believe that if we invest in blighted neighborhoods, in existing small businesses, and in young people graduating from local high schools and colleges, we can create new jobs and create an economy where prosperity is shared.
So the Alliance for Business and Community will continue to champion for workforce and small business investments, and we are inviting all of you and many community-based organizations to join us. We can think of no better partner than the city of Sacramento. And that is why we are here today, joining Mayor Steinberg as he shares his vision of how we can increase our capacity as a city and as a community so that we can build a city, one city that works for everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in welcoming our mayor, Darrell Steinberg.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You do me the honor, Ray. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you all. Well, thank you. Thank you so much to Pat, to Aziza, and to Kathy for not just the warm introduction, but the statement of principles about what I believe and what I want to talk to you all about here today. I want to thank President Gutierrez for welcoming us to City College. And Chancellor King, thank you so much for being here as well. I want to thank, of course, my City Council colleagues, because I may be the captain of the team, but I still am I'm the player coach, one member of the team. And what we do, we all do together. And that's the same with the entire city team, from the city manager, Howard Chan, welcome, to the city charter officers, to the police chief, Daniel Hahn, thank you as well for being here today. And of course, all the education partners, and I may miss some of you here today. President Nelson, thank you so much for being here. And Superintendent Aguilar, thank you for being here. Our Sac City Superintendent, and all the business and labor and community leaders that are represented in this small but powerful room. All the elected officials, the school board members who I know came as well today. Thank you so much for your vital public service. Pat, Aziza, and Kathy, I asked you to introduced me for a reason. You are three business leaders. You are three women representing the diversity of our city. And again, I'm honored that you would help us launch this important event here today. And so, allow me to begin today by talking with you about a question that has been on my mind. Why does a third grader living in South Sacramento, why does a third grader living in South Sacramento have less of a chance in life than a third grader living in East Sacramento? Among the many complex policy questions, challenges, and opportunities facing our beloved city, that single question should both haunt us and compel us to take dramatic action. I want to tell you two stories about two different Sacramentos. In April, with our city in the national spotlight after the Stephon Clark shooting, I met with a third grader, DeAndre, at Parkway Elementary School in South Sac. He was full of personality, and he asked smart questions, and he was 2 years behind grade level in reading. His family is intermittently homeless. His teachers and his principal are heroic in their efforts to compensate for what his life has lacked. When DeAndre heard that I was the mayor, he asked if that meant I had all the keys to the city. I don't, I said, but I've been thinking about DeAndre's question ever since. And then last week, I attended a gathering of Sacramento's movers and shakers to celebrate the arrival of a new company headquarters in our city. Highlands Power is making a new type of electric motor, much smaller and more efficient than the existing motors on the market. It's a small company, but it has plenty of promise. If it grows, it could create the kinds of jobs that Sacramento sorely lacks, the kind that involve making high-value goods sold to people all over the country and all over the world. Will my two stories ever come together? Will DeAndre have the real opportunity to work with an emerging company like Highland Power? I certainly don't pretend to have every city key, but I know this. There are keys that we do have to unlock the doors that separate DeAndre from the same opportunities afforded third graders born into more hopeful circumstances. City College is the people's college in Sacramento and for Sacramento. It's a place where students from vastly different circumstances can come together and learn. It's the perfect place for me to share with you the bold action I see us taking together to spread more of these precious keys all around our city. And boldly we must act. I find it intolerable that poverty in the Sacramento region grew from 12.5% of the population in 2010 to nearly 16% in 2016. That is a bigger increase than in all but 7 cities in the entire country. During the same time, the percentage of Sacramento's poor who live in extremely poor neighborhoods more than doubled. I bristled when I heard these numbers. I bristled even more when I learned that even though Sacramento's workforce is becoming increasingly diverse, that too many people are being left behind, especially people of color, are being left behind as the job market changes. 3/4 of the jobs in our region now require high or medium levels of digital skills. But only 18% of Latino and African American residents obtain at least a 4-year degree, and only half go on beyond high school at all. We cannot afford either economically or morally, to have so much of our future workforce unprepared to achieve our region's great economic ambitions. The Stephon Clark shooting, our local and national tragedy, was about much more than the vexing and real issues of policing and race found in Sacramento and in other American cities. It also shed a harsh light on the continued cycle of poverty, despair, and generational trauma that is the reality for too many members of our community. The gap between the wealthy and the poor isn't a new problem for Sacramento or America as a whole. Of course it isn't. But just like homelessness, it's easier to shrug and say, you know, we wish we could do more. We have our limits. That it's hard. That it's too expensive. That it's too complex for one person or one city to solve. After all, we can't do everything, right? But that's never been my way. And it's never been the Sacramento way. The greater the challenge, the greater the reward when we break through together. I was elected in 2016 with a mission to elevate this city's new economic identity, but also to tie it more directly to our neighborhoods and to our kids. We clearly are moving assertively on the first part, with more innovation, advanced industry jobs, sports, arts, culture, dining, and entertainment, a renaissance, as we popularly call it, in California's capital. We all feel and hear the excitement. I do, and I hear it every day. It's the blocks around the Golden One Center downtown are bustling with new investment. We're building a new waterfront science center after 11 years of planning, by the way, because we didn't have the resources, and expanding our convention center and community center theater. We're becoming a new proving ground for technologies like 5G wireless, electric vehicle fleets, and autonomous cars. And it's our job, all of us, my colleagues and I, all of us, to keep moving hard and fast and to continue adding to that list. And yet, the connection to those whose lives are far removed from all of this excitement is at best remote and at worst non-existent. The renaissance we champion is incomplete. Until we address together the fundamental issues of neighborhood inequality, until we address them purposefully and aggressively, until all residents have access to jobs in the advanced industries of the future, our growth will stall. Income inequality can knock as much as 4% off the growth rate of an economy over time. The moral costs are, of course, even higher. People who lack jobs and education and money simply cannot contribute their talents to the workforce or start new companies. Innovation lags as fewer minds participate. Crime rates increase when hope is merely a mirage. Let us change this old and tired reality together. Let's lead Sacramento to become the model of inclusive economic growth for the country. A city that actually starts to reverse the divide between rich and poor through education and job creation. Our breakthrough will make us a true destination city. A dream is just a dream unless it's combined with creative and bold action. We need a true game changer in Sacramento, one that enables us to move beyond our current limits of doing well, but just kind of getting by as a city. And so I am asking my city council colleagues and Sacramento voters to extend the current Measure U sales tax to a full cent in November and make it permanent. I propose that we do so as a general tax, which by law means we cannot predetermine how the revenues will be spent. But we can and must describe in detail how we could spend those resources. Over the past 6 months, in community gatherings large and small, we have solicited responses from hundreds of you about what you think are the most pressing issues facing our city, the places where we should focus our attention. We called this effort Project Prosper. Affordable housing and homelessness topped your list. You wanted the city to do more to help small businesses and to provide preschool and career pathways for high school and community college students. 16.5% of young adults in the Sacramento metro area are unemployed, second highest among the 25 largest metro regions, again in the entire country. Youth opportunities, pathways, and educational attainment must be a central part of our city's vision, a promise to our students. On June 12th, my colleagues and I will begin a conversation about what we could do with an extended Measure U. Today is not an official campaign launch as the community dialogue continues. But when we do launch, I am confident we will have strong support from business, from labor, from neighborhood leaders, most importantly, from the voters of Sacramento. Today, I want to take a few minutes and share with you my current thoughts about how a single penny could change Sacramento. Measure U at a half a penny currently generates about $50 million a year. Keeping it will allow us to pay for core and vital city services. The measure itself, by all accounts, has been a great success. The police department has hired 55 new sworn officers and retained another 60. The fire department was able to restore a company and staff an additional engine. We've improved park maintenance and kept libraries open longer. Without an extension to Measure U, these vital services would have to be cut, hurting our quality of life in a very significant way. And so you ask, why a full cent? Because it's way past time. We invest real public resources into our neighborhoods with a clear focus on job creation, housing, and youth. 1 penny could change the economic arc of Sacramento. Who hasn't wished on a penny for better fortune in their lives? I would not propose a penny if it was going to pay only for a series of worthy, very worthy, but traditional city services. And while we should, of course, consider some immediate restorations or expansions of city services after Measure U's passage, I am convinced that the only sustainable way for us to expand library hours, add more community police officers, and improve emergency response times is to invest directly in advanced, inclusive, and dynamic job growth that will ultimately broaden our city's tax base. We have to together get beyond the tired Sacramento experience of essential investments being exceptions rather than the core of what we care about. An example, this year, my colleagues and I, with the support of the community, put forward $500,000 each for creative economy pilot projects around art and innovation, community organizations serving youth, and small business opportunities for our minority businesses. One-time money. No continued commitments. Nobody's fault, but it's our way. Small but worthy attempts to address large systemic problems. 11 years. I've said it a couple of times. 11 years between envisioning a science center and groundbreaking. A city budget that's a little up and then a little down, the constant teeter-totter of the status quo. It's the approach that in part, in addition to the recession, of course, but that in part created the need for Measure U in the first place. Without a real neighborhood-based jobs and housing strategy, we fight for crumbs. Real economic growth requires sustained public and private commitment to move from heady vision to real change that people in neighborhoods can see and can trust. A real commitment to creating business sectors that bring wealth into our communities by creating more advanced industry jobs. A commitment to support this growth with targeted workforce training programs that offer pathways into these jobs, creating economic stability and prosperity across neighborhoods. There are many ways, of course, for the city to invest in jobs, in housing, and in workforce preparation. And I say, let the debate and the dialogue begin, because it's a positive debate and dialogue, a healthy one for our community. We could get started year one, for example, by building signature community projects like a new library in Del Paso Heights. We can reconstruct the Marina Vista and Alder Grove public housing complexes into a new mixed-income community. We could transform the River District into our version of Portland's Pearl District. We could expand the Crocker to multiply its commitment to kids in every Sacramento school. We could move much more aggressively to get mixed-use and affordable housing development going in the rail yards. I, of course, am bullish on one dramatic possibility that you heard me speak about in my State of the City address. We could commit to devoting 1/4 cent or $25 million of the money raised annually by Measure U to create a capital fund that catalyzes innovation, job growth, and more affordable housing. If we committed that money over multiple years, we could establish a capital fund of between $400 and $500 million. And that would only be a start, for we would require any expenditure of this trust fund, these public dollars, to be matched 4-to-1 by private or public dollars, a smart requirement that would allow us to invest as much as $2.5 billion. Think about that. $2.5 billion in Sacramento's inclusive economic future. And so why, people ask me, since the State of the City, why this emphasis on one-time capital? Why do you talk about that? Capital seeds small businesses, innovators, and entrepreneurs. It allows us to compete appropriately with one-time incentives to attract major employers. It allows us to strategically invest in advanced industry hubs like health and life science and autonomous and clean vehicle technology. It allows us to have funding, to build up funding to test new ideas. We have committed, for example, to a dynamic partnership with UC Davis to build the Aggie Square Innovation and Research Hub in Oak Park and the Med Center. We want to do the same with Sac State. These are surefire job creators that could pay big dividends for the city, especially as we work to entice our graduates from Sac State and UC Davis to choose to make Sacramento their home instead of moving out of the area. And the work we're doing with Sac State and UC Davis are not the only opportunities that will present themselves in the years ahead. But partnerships like these require us to participate financially and not just rely on our partners to step up alone. And we currently lack the capital to credibly do so. And then, of course, there is the hot topic around the growing scarcity of affordable housing. Rents are rising faster here than in almost any other city in the entire country. But we have just $2.5 million in our housing trust fund, enough to build 15 new units in our entire city. Really? Really? I mean, this is unacceptable to me. And it should be for all of us. Let's build a housing trust fund of $100 million or more and get serious about increasing supply. Building more affordable housing must be our top capital priority. And then there is homelessness, our city's toughest issue. We have launched a comprehensive plan with an ambitious start, but we need more capital for permanent supportive housing and for preventing calamity for those who are one broken down car, one lost job away from becoming homeless. It's what we promised, and it's what we must deliver. We have the will in this community. We just need more of the means. The final quarter of our penny, another $25 million, annually could be allocated to neighborhood-based services, to public safety, and investments to prepare Sacramento's young people for the 21st century workforce. We have shortchanged youth investments and community-based organizations in our city for years, and it's time to change that reality. Preschool for every 3- and 4-year-old is not only a proud goal, it's the best way to make sure that young adults are actually prepared for the modern workforce. A paid internship is the real path to helping create a Sacramento promise and getting young people hired in the field of their choice. Arts education both improves student performance and creates the possibility, the probability of more Greta Gerwigs arising from all of our neighborhoods. Quality childcare enables single moms and dads to fully join the workforce without having to compromise themselves or those that they love most. And there are other changes that our neighborhoods are rightfully calling for. Genuine community policing builds trust in neighborhoods as officers have more positive encounters with residents. And as our city grows, people rightfully expect that our firefighters and first responders can get to emergency situations safely and immediately. Libraries and community centers are in fact centers of community that help kids and families grow with hope and with confidence. Beefing up code enforcement will make life better for residents of our older neighborhoods. The voters of this city should rightfully insist that we tie new investments in inclusive economic development to real-life positive outcomes for neighborhoods and for people. We must be guided, and we will be guided, by rigorous analysis and evaluations which assure the public that all the investments we make either create real jobs, grow more workforce housing, enhance public safety, or increase the capacity of people, especially people from our neighborhoods and kids from our neighborhoods, to compete in our emerging and advanced economy. The nationally recognized Brookings economist Amy Liu came to our city in April and described two different tomorrows for our city and for our region. Continue along as we have been, which is good, but not nearly good enough, and leave many behind. Or shake up the status quo and make investing in inclusive economic growth a core mission of our city. By pushing for that penny to become more than a wish, we can in fact have it all. A cosmopolitan city with high-quality jobs in growth industries and a tax base that consistently supports a high level of quality public service, including public safety. A city that measures its success not only by whether we continue to build a reputation as a cool millennial city, but also whether we build a city where DeAndre, his family, and his neighbors all have a fair shot at a better life. I suppose it would be easier to play it safe here in Sacramento. But I think of the great architect Daniel Burnham, who pulled off the unlikely feat of bringing the World's Fair to what was then called the Cowtown of Chicago in 1893. He once said, "Make no little plans. They have no magic to stir men's blood, and probably will not themselves be realized." We have a choice. We either lead together or we simply hope for the best. If being a catalyst with business and labor in the community to create more high-wage jobs and industries is not a core mission, it must become one. If our insistence on neighborhood and economic equity is not wholly reflected in the way we currently operate, then we must change the way we operate. If we can't see ourselves making a real difference to alleviate homelessness or improve educational outcomes for young people, then maybe we aren't trying hard enough. All in for all of us. All in for all of us. I don't know really what makes the best or catchiest slogan, but I do know that all in for all of us captures the spirit of what I believe and the spirit of the city we all love. All in. All in. Where there remains a distance between our big-time aspirations and our ability to deliver, then let's close that distance. For all of us. For all of us. For Sacramento. For the country. Every advantage, every opportunity that easily exists for some neighborhoods, for some people, must also exist for all neighborhoods and all our people. Thank you very much.